Welcome back to another video, ladies and gentlemen. This is Miscellaneous Myths, Aphrodite. Overly Sarcastic Productions. I've been waiting to check out another video by them. I seen this down in the comments back on my old video. So shout out to Overly Sarcastic Productions. I should just say literally OSP. Is it OSP? Overly Sarcastic? Yeah, OSP. So we're here. Let's check it out. I'm gonna watch it just to be unique. I'm gonna watch it on my OBS instead of like the screen, which is, yeah, let's just.
So I've talked about a lot of Greek myths on this channel, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Aphrodite kind of shows up in a lot of them. It's actually a little weird if you think about it. She's this fickle, temperamental force that just kind of shows up and causes chaos. She's a bit...
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The only thing I know about Aphrodite is like being the goddess of love. I didn't look too much into her, but other than that, love is chaotic anyways, right? So
of a ditz who would literally murder people to maintain her OTPs and no TPs. She's a doting mother, an unfaithful spouse, a benevolent boon granter, and a really sadistic punisher of perceived slights. She's confusing is what she is. What the heck is her deal? So before we go trekking through historical context to try and figure out why she's like this, let's put together everything we know about Aphrodite at this point.
Heard. Oh no, it's got the OSP drop the Count Dankula type intro.
Aphrodite's most well-known birth story involves her spontaneously arising fully formed from the sea foam kicked up by Uranus' castrated balls and drifting ashore onto the island of Cythera, which she then made her home. It's generally agreed on that Aphrodite was never a child, as she represents adult love and sexuality, so she just spontaneously appears all grown up, which is good because the alternative is pretty gross. Grosser than the balls thing. Now,
we gotta hear the alternative. You can't leave it out. No!
First off, Aphrodite has a big role in the Iliad, as she's almost single-handedly responsible for kicking off the Trojan War. For those unfamiliar with the premise, Eris, the goddess of discord, gets pissed when she's not invited to Achilles' parents' wedding, so she hucks a golden apple at the Olympians and says it's for the hottest goddess. Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena got all hung up on the...
Okay, not gonna lie, most of this is pretty familiar so far because, we had, well, and I'm pretty sure in high school we had the choice to take a mythology class. I don't remember it really being my choice at the time, but I knew it was a choice. But I ended up like getting out of it soon because, to be fair, you want to learn mythology and learn things in your own way rather than be taught it. I'm not gonna lie. Even if it was a class you could choose, still rather teach yourself certain things rather than have it forced down your throat in a certain way that you don't like. Also, those projects and things behind it could be fun if they were of free will, or at least if you wanted to handle a god, you could do it in your own way. But
the competition, and recognizing that there was no safe answer to that particular question, Zeus fobs the responsibility off on this random Trojan kid, Paris. The three goddesses appear to Paris and tell him to choose which of them is the fairest, and to sweeten the deal, each goddess also offers him a gift/bribe. Hera offers to make him the ruler of all of Europe and Asia.
The gods are always bribing somebody to do something.
Athena offers him wisdom and heckin' sweet battle tactics, and Aphrodite says she'll give him the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris picks the hot lady option, Aphrodite claims her prize, and gives Paris what she promised him, Helen of Troy, who happens to be married already to the volatile Spartan king Menelaus, and is additionally the subject of a giant treaty ordering pretty much every Greek king under the sun.
You know what I think is really funny about the gods too? Okay, so I think this is really funny because like this is how I like look at when I like that certain gods represent different things, right? But technically, if we're technically speaking about God, each god has the power to create or destroy something. I would think Aphrodite would be what is the word? I'm missing the word. Help me. The word. She would be able to create the most beautiful woman in the world if that, she popped up out of sea foam, right? So pop another one out of sea foam. You would think she would have that power rather than going to cause some chaos like this. See, that's why some of these god stories literally make no fucking sense. They just want problems.
Decide with her husband if anything bad happens. So this divine kidnapping unsurprisingly kicks off the Trojan War and puts Hera and Athena firmly on the opposing side from Paris, which, let's be real, having the
Whoa. Hang on. I have to look at something. You hear the music? Look at all my other videos lined up. It didn't get caught. I can hear the music clearly. It's like one of Ariana Grande's songs. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it and just kept moving forward. Damn. Okay, I don't want it to get... Let me see.
Goddesses of rulership and battle tactics.
Wow, it's really in there. I have to lower the volume just a little bit, but then I'm gonna have to pay attention more intently.
Opposing you in a war is not a good thing. So at this point, Aphrodite has claimed a hottest trophy by throwing a cute couple together with no regard for the potential repercussions and kicked off a war as the direct result. Great. This portrays her as flighty and impulsive with a general disregard for consequence. Aphrodite plays a major role again in the Aeneid, where she serves as a source of regular divine intervention for her son Aeneas, but is at one point goaded by Hera into setting up Aeneas with Queen Dido and distracting him from his divine Rome-founding quest in the
Oh man, that sucks. I'm loving this video, but until I heard the music, that worried me a little bit, literally. Okay, maybe it'll be fine. Maybe it'll be too low to hear, because I gotta turn up the speaker. I can't hear her overly sarcastic production.
Process. Zeus intervenes, Aeneas leaves Dido, and Dido kills herself as a result. In this story, Aphrodite demonstrates an unrelenting loyalty to her son, but ends up self-sabotaging when her shipping reflexes get too strong and she sets off a romantic subplot. Aphrodite's protective mother side comes into focus again in the myth of Eros and Psyche, where her son Eros falls in love with the ludicrously beautiful Psyche, and Aphrodite gets super huffy about it, first sheltering and then imprisoning Eros in her palace, and putting Psyche through deadly trials to try and get rid of her. This Aphrodite is both jealous and ruthless. Her initial dislike of Psyche is prompted by the fact that Psyche's beauty has prompted some locals to start.
I love how it's like what we know about Aphrodite, but it literally just sums up to Aphrodite is completely chaotic, and that's what you just need to know. This is what happens when you let certain parts of your to be honest, because you're in control of what you choose and feel, so your untrained emotions go way too far.
Worshipping Psyche instead of Aphrodite, and her many tasks for Psyche seem less prove yourself and more just die already. Aphrodite may be a protective mother, but she's far from a loyal spouse.
Boom. Which brings me back to another thing, since I said that actually in this list is all making me just want to shoot it out. That brings me back to this is why, you have to choose to control them. Don't let your emotions control you. Make them serve you. Yes. I don't know where I just got stopped in what I wanted to say, because there was a whole other thing. My mind. It's just as chaotic as Aphrodite's love story, so.
Though technically married to Hephaestus in most myths, she has a well-known habit of sleeping with Ares, because Hephaestus is all grody from having been thrown off Olympus and hitting every branch on the ugly tree on the way down. So Aphrodite is not big on marital responsibility. She also has a habit of taking mortal lovers she thinks are cute, which is how Aeneas happens. Aphrodite's terrible at managing her own
it popped back into my mind. Are you starting to see how the gods are like exaggerated reflections of us? Because we created the gods. Well, they simultaneously created us to explain certain energies, you see? Because I'm pretty sure you can look in your life and find someone who is Aphrodite, or who reminds you of Aphrodite. That's the purpose, because they're reflections of us.
Relationships, but she does like helping other people with theirs.
Esoteric.
In the midst of both Pygmalion and Atalanta, Aphrodite responds to the prayers of a pining dude unlucky in love and blesses him with something to help him. In Atalanta's case, she gives Hippomenes the enchanted golden apples he uses to win the race, and in Pygmalion's case, she brings his statue waifu Galatea to life. But on
Why didn't she just give something to Hephaestus, and she didn't?
On the flip side, Aphrodite is really unhappy when people actively avoid relationships, which shows up most strongly in the myth of Hippolytus, a rare male hunter of Artemis who did the classic Artemis hunter thing of staying single and refusing to mingle. This pissed off Aphrodite so much that she made Hippolytus' stepmother Phaedra fall in love with him, and when he rejected her advances, she told his father Theseus he had assaulted her, then killed herself. Theseus calls in a favor from Poseidon and has Hippolytus killed in retribution. It's a really nasty situation.
This is what the fuck, bro? This is exactly why I say. Do you understand? Like, I hope everyone has seen through the illusion of what the gods are. Now, stuff like that. What is that story? Like, okay. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm done.
Now, there's a ton of myths about Aphrodite I haven't talked about, but they all generally fall into one of these categories. Aphrodite sleeps around,
Yep.
Aphrodite gets pissed and ruins someone's life,
Yep.
Aphrodite thinks the ship is cute and makes it canon no matter the consequences, and Aphrodite is a very overprotective mother. So now that we've got something of a concrete feel for where Aphrodite's character was at by the time of classical Greece, let's start talking about how she got that way. Now, like I talked about in the Dionysus video, before ancient Greece got going around the 700s BC, there were two major historical intervals that are relevant to this kind of thing. Mycenaean Greece between the 1600s and 1100s BC, and the post-Bronze Age collapsed Greek Dark Ages filling in the centuries in between. We don't have any written records from the Dark Ages, but in that intervening...
The one with the silly hat, ocean god, dumb war god, smart god, The one with the plants. Moon, sun, handles all things. What? What? I can't see that one. The ugly one, the shipper, the queen, the king. Wait a minute. Smart. Is it? Oh, dumb war god, smart war god. I like that. I had to look over at this screen to see. I like that. Okay.
Period. All the gods got shuffled around. Poseidon got demoted
Yeah.
from head god, and Zeus got to be in charge. And the Mycenaean syllabic script, Linear B, was replaced by the basically Phoenician Greek alphabet. Linear B only got properly translated in the last few
Some gods we know existed. Ares, Dionysus, Zeus, Poseidon, Artemis, Hera, Uranus, and
decades, but using that, we've been able to find written records of a lot of the Hellenistic gods from Mycenaean Greece, like Zeus, Dionysus, Persephone, etc., meaning they predated ancient Greece and were worshipped in the precursor culture of Mycenaean Greece and carried over through the Dark Ages.
Oh, okay.
Again, like I mentioned in the Dionysus video, Mycenaean Greece was the ancient Greece of ancient Greece. Ancient Greek culture deliberately presented itself as a successor to Mycenaean Greece, with the Iliad and the Odyssey codified in the 700s BC in ancient Greece, but set in Mycenaean Greece. There was a lot of rollover, and as we discussed, Dionysus was one of the rollover gods. He was worshipped in an obscure cult capacity in Mycenaean Greece and carried on through the Dark Ages into ancient Greece proper. But
wait, he was what?
worshipped in an obscure cult capacity in
He was worshipped in a obscure cult capacity. Okay, if you're talking in the background, also I apologize.
Mycenaean Greece and carried on through the Dark Ages into ancient Greece proper. But if we go looking for Aphrodite's name in ye olde Mycenaean inscriptions, we come up empty. Aphrodite is not a Mycenaean goddess. So where did she come from? Since Aphrodite isn't Mycenaean but is very relevant in the Iliad, one of the oldest ancient Greek texts we have, this gives us a concrete interval to look in for when she first showed up and or when she became an established member of the pantheon. She can't have been very relevant before the 1100s, and she can't be newer than 700. Honestly, she really can't be newer than 900, as Homer didn't write the Iliad, he just wrote it down. It had most likely already been codified in oral tradition for a century or two. So let's put a pin in this for a minute and talk about the
I love history because technically it's like all imaginary, and whoever has their hand in what history becomes is truly like the writer of history. They're like if you think about it, they're some of the most dangerous people ever. Because like imagine, like I think that's why people are so scared of the whole time traveler thing, going back and changing one thing and it changes like 100 different things in the future, where there's multiple parallel universes. So technically, if that time traveler went and turned something, changed something from the future, like the past, and it changed the future, if he hopped to the future, he would technically then put himself in a reality or a parallel reality of the one he altered. And there's an infinite number of parallel realities, so technically nothing would change for us in our reality. Someone just blinked out of our time and then they're gone. Technically, if they tried to come back, they wouldn't be on this timeline because they changed. Because they could probably come back here, but then there would be a parallel universe somewhere out there where they literally changed something that they're just not living in. But I assume that that time traveler would want to live in that time. Yeah. Also, that's what how that all just stemmed off of history, I don't know, you know me. But the thing with the whole history is it's all history. So like it's just funny.
Phoenician goddess Astarte. Astarte is a Phoenician goddess.
Astarte? Warhammer?
Phoenician goddess Astarte.
Astarte, the Astartes. The woman, the myth, the legend. I like how Astarte, look at this god, and there's a Astartes in Warhammer 40k, and I don't know how many people in Warhammer actually probably realize this.
Astarte is a Phoenician goddess of fertility, sex, war, and the planet Venus. References to her name first appear in the port city of Ugarit between 1450 and 1200 BC, and there's evidence that her cult moved out along Phoenician trade routes, which reached the eastern tip of Crete. There was
I love the drawings. I love her little drawings. So I didn't see the counterpart blue. You guys told me there's a red and a blue, but I didn't see the counterpart yet. And is it like someone who works on the channel with her, like a guy, and he's like, I don't know, or
also a Phoenician settlement on the island of Kythera sometime in the 1400s.
I brought it up because there's one doing the drawings and like she's doing
BC, and if the name Kythera is ringing any bells, it's the mythological realm of Aphrodite and the home to her oldest temple, as well as the place she supposedly first came to shore after being born from sea foam, making it a very simple leap to suppose that this is a mythological representation of her cult coming from across the sea and making landfall there. Also, like I mentioned right at the beginning, the Phoenician alphabet was brought to Greece sometime around the Dark Ages, and it's not so unreasonable that the Phoenicians
take a look. So they had a comma, then they had a B, G, D, H, W, Z, H, TYKLMNS upside down quote or comma PS with a dot QRS with a half a V and then a T. I'm assuming some of these, like the two T's, make different sounds, obviously, blah blah. How the hell did they make this an alphabet? Language is such an interesting thing. Let's continue.
Might have brought some other info with them, like a nifty cult, for example. So the general consensus is that the Phoenician cult of Astarte came to Greece, specifically Cythera, most likely in the 1400s. Astarte became Aphrodite, and in the intervening centuries, her worship spread until by the time the Iliad was being taught, she'd been firmly emplaced as a member of the pantheon. Sure, that's cool. Astarte is also Ishtar. Ishtar is the Mesopotamian goddess of love, sex, fertility, beauty, war, justice.
Ishtar. We gotta go back, because she started listing it all.
Ishtar is the Mesopotamian goddess of love, sex, fertility, beauty, war, justice, political power, the planet Venus, and a bunch of other stuff. She was worshipped from 4000 BC onward and saw a major jump in popularity around 2300 BC. You may remember her from her appearance in the Underworld Myths video, where she quests into the underworld to retrieve her boyfriend Tammuz and comes into conflict with Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld. So it might fascinate you to know that Aphrodite has a very similar myth. In the story of Adonis, Aphrodite finds the orphaned infant Adonis and gives him to Persephone to be raised in the underworld. That part is pretty unique. But when Adonis grows up to be super hot, Aphrodite and Persephone—
Oh, the infant Adonis. I thought it was Infinidonis. I was like, that is a fire name. Infinite. Or Infinite Adonis. That sounds dope too.
And end up getting into a fight over who gets to keep him. And while Persephone has no relation to Ereshkigal, her status as queen of the underworld slots her into the appropriate mythological role perfectly. I'm not crazy, by the way. Tammuz had his own cult, and it got imported to Greece under the name Adonis. This is a legit connection. So Aphrodite, a goddess of sex, love, beauty, and the planet Venus, comes from Astarte, a goddess of all of the above plus war, and Astarte comes from Ishtar, a goddess of all of the above plus justice and power. That's not too crazy. Astarte makes landfall in Cythera when her cult travels up along the trade routes. At this point, we've got a couple questions.
See, I love how they all come, like, they're all cults. Isn't that just funny? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, literally, let's, on this channel, if you're watching this video, you know what? Put down below. If you're feeling creative enough or you want a new creative idea, try to come up with your own pantheon. Don't make it into a cult, but try to come up with your own pantheon. Your own gods to explain certain forces and energies in the universe. And there you go. Pretty much easy. You know, because like most of the gods, as you see, pretty simplified. I'm giving the super simplified version. They just give explanations to events that naturally happen. The sun setting, the sun rising. The sun rising is like what, like not Artemis. Who's the sun god? Hermes. Hermes is boots. Apollo's like pulling the chariot across the sky, and that's like so like down below if you want to. Here's a fun project for you if you feel up to it. Make your own pantheon
presenting themselves to us. Where did her cult go next? And if Ishtar and Astarte are so strongly war goddesses, then why is Aphrodite totally not a war goddess? I'll answer both those questions at once. The next place she went was Sparta, and she was absolutely a war goddess. So Cythera is this little island.
See, that's what makes sense though. All the gods, like I was saying, why she could have just made the dude a beautiful woman instead of going and causing chaos. Like, they basically, every single god is every other god. It's like, basically, you're given, it's like this. It's like, okay, you're a god. I'm going to give you a special place to rule. Aphrodite, born out of the ocean, it's like, hey, we need someone to handle love, relationships, and things like that. So it's you. You're Aphrodite. Boom. Chaos. Okay. Like, you know, we need someone for the underworld. Are you up for it, Hades? Let's get yes.
Right about here-ish. Sparta is about here-ish.
So it's like funny that she became a warrior. You can kind of see it coming. It's not hard.
Unsurprisingly, given their proximity, Sparta had a habit of intermittently claiming Cythera as a territory, and equally unsurprisingly, some of that OG Phoenician cult attitude seems to have leaked through whenever Sparta was in the area. Sparta is also one of the oldest cities in ancient Greece, so when you put that all together, you get the fact that Sparta pretty much got the first good look at this brand new goddess, and judging by the statues they carved and the way she was worshipped, Aphrodite was a full-on war god back when she first made landfall. Now, unsurprisingly, a goddess of beauty and sex simultaneously obviously being a goddess of war, was unlikely to bother the Spartans, because, you know, Spartans. But the rest of Greece didn't seem too keen on the concept. Apparently, it was considered an inherent contradiction in values. The warlike Aphrodite is found almost exclusively on Cythera and in Sparta, and it's worth noting that in the Iliad, Zeus explicitly tells Aphrodite that she doesn't belong on the battlefield, which is the kind of overt character interaction that contemporary writers like to use to make firm political statements on controversial subjects. The fact that it needed to be stated at all implies it might have been something of a debate at the time. Anyway, this warlike Aphrodite, while probably the oldest Aphrodite, isn't the most popular Aphrodite in ancient Greece. As her worship spread, her image changed, which wasn't uncommon, but is still very interesting. But before we go further in that direction to explore how she was worshipped, we gotta talk about two things: mythological inconsistencies and divine epithets.
Divine epithets. Should I get to 10 minutes and then end it off? My video is already super long, so I'll cut it into parts so you're not here forever. But we'll take off 9:38. We'll take off there tomorrow. Thanks for sending this to me. I enjoy this. Much love in Moonlight. But right before I go, I love how she ended on mythological inconsistencies. Bro, there's going to be inconsistencies forever in everything till the end of time. Like, I mean, yeah. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.